tonight what I wanted to do is, in October, we usually have something called October Fast. You've heard me talking about fasting a lot. And two reasons mainly is, number one, the Bible talks a lot about it, from David to Esther to Moses to Elijah to Jesus to the apostles to Paul. Jesus said, when you fast. So it's a spiritual discipline in the life of a believer. So that's number one. Number two is, I would say that this is probably one of the things that made the biggest difference in my journey with Christ, is seasons of because you gotta turn on, what's that saying? Feed the beast, right? You gotta turn off that feeding from time to time. Because if you're like me, it's a constant, feeding of the flesh. Again, eating's not bad. We need it. But there should be seasons where we just set a time. It's actually not a weight loss program. It's a time to pray and fast. And the benefit, though, is weight loss. So that helps a little bit. But that's not our focus. Our focus is on spiritual matters, but there are physical benefits as well. So I just simply title it The Spiritual Power of Fasting, Methods and Meaning. So I'm going to give you some ways to fast, because not everybody can do water fasting or just a little bit of juice. There are different ways to fast. Biblically speaking, they would go without nourishment. So biblically speaking, it was mainly just water, and they would do it from sun up to sundown. That's the most common in Jewish history. You can read about that in some of the Jewish writings and things like that. And of course, we see examples in the Bible. But especially right now, much is being said about revival. Right? What's happening in our nation, just that spiritual awakening. And at pivotal moments like this, we've got to keep it going. Things like this don't just kind of maintain on their own. It reminds me of the Old Testament example that when God said, I'll light the fire, but the priest, you have to keep that fire going. Is that interesting? God lit that fire, the sacrifice, the fire that went nonstop in the temple area there. He lit it, and he said, but you need to keep it going. And I don't want to get too off track and go out of context, but there's a principle there that's very true. When God ignites that fire, we do have to steward revival, steward a spiritual awakening by seeking Him. And denying the flesh with the right heart always leads to a spiritual awakening. Always leads to a spiritual awakening. And look at this verse, just so you know, Matthew 6. This is Jesus. Notice how it doesn't say if you fast. It's not an option. He's actually talking about when you give, when you pray, and when you fast. And so that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Well, how often? And I'm glad he didn't say exactly, because it could become legalistic. Wednesdays and Fridays, or every single day, OMAD. You know what OMAD is? 1 meal a day. Alternate day fasting. And they're fasting, people make it legalistic. And I remember I got a taste of this when I was like, I started fasting. I'm like, no, I had a little bit of juice. Well, you weren't really fasting then. I'm like, oh, well, I felt great and the Lord was close, and he's really mad at me for having a cup of orange juice because I had to get through the Saturday night service at that time. Yeah, that's not fasting. I'm like, and so being beat up by Pharisees, because I know what they're saying. Obviously, the deeper you can go with just water, autophagy kicks in and healing and cellular cleansing and all those things for sure. But I'd rather finish 30 days and have succeeded, and maybe I need a little bit of juice now and then, versus this legalistic approach. So my point is, there is a lot of freedom in it. And so when he said, when you fast, I've always found it helpful. What I've told people and what I do is you take it to the Lord. And many times there's been where you feel, and some of you have a sense of, okay, I need to do this for 7 days or 14 days or 21 days or what type of fast. And it's easy to make the decision, but then to see that decision out is when it becomes challenging. Around day 2, you're like, I don't know if that was the Lord. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I'll start on January 1st. And then January 1st rolls around. You go, and then I'll start April for Easter, Lent, and all those things. And once you make a decision, I think that's when faith and perseverance kick in, because God honors that faith of, you know what, Lord, I'm going to step out in faith. There was one time I was fasting here, I'll never forget. I didn't know exactly how long, and I was leaving, and it was over that hill. I remember exactly kind of where, and I just felt this tremendous release, like, oh, I'm just going to eat dinner tonight when I get home. And I felt excited about it. It felt good. I think it was like 8 or 9 days of just of fasting. And there's been other times where, you know, I wanted to go a certain amount of time, and I didn't make it. I a lot of times I haven't done it perfectly. But you get back up and you keep falling forward. And there have been times I've wanted to, but then things come up and I have to preach, like on Easter. I remember last year, it's 2 years ago, 3 services, and I had some juice. And so my point is, if you get focused on doing it perfectly and something happens and you beat yourself up and you fall off the wagon, so to speak, with fasting, you know, you just get back on track. You keep that momentum going. Some of the most incredible moments I've had is when I said, Lord, you know, I want to keep going. I had some juice, or I ate last night. There's been times I got up and had some cashews at night because I couldn't sleep. And many of you know, hormones are elevated, so sometimes it's hard to sleep. And just getting back on track is so refreshing. But I think that's why he said, when you fast, and I believe Jewish history bears it out too. Their fast was usually once a week, sun up to sundown. And many of you follow Derek Prince. He would do that on Fridays as well. John Wesley would do that, I think, on Wednesdays and Fridays. Reese Howells. Is it Reese Howells or Hal Reese? I always forget he's well known for fasting. He would do it just in the evening. And so you really, it's between you and the Lord. So he said, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites. And so you're walking around sad. Look at me. I'm fasting today. Aren't I so spiritual? It's like you have your reward. Good job. Good job. And, you know, they look all torn up and they don't refresh themselves. And he said, you have your fast. You have your reward. But when you fast, my disciples, anoint your head. Back then it would be doing the hair probably for women, and they'd have the oil refreshing. They wouldn't look like they were fasting. But to your Father who is in the secret place, and then your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. So, unless I'm not quite understanding, there is a reward during seasons of prayer and fasting. He rewards us openly. And it doesn't mean money necessarily. It means, there's people, I wish I would have kept a log of marriages restored as they fasted together. Prodigal sons coming home with moms crying up here, this is who we've been praying for. And just breakthroughs and deliverance and strongholds. It's just a miracle to what God does. But that's why it's so hard. Have you got it yet that everything in the Christian faith that is hard is worth fighting for? That's why it's hard. That's why it's difficult, is because it's so important. And fasting is so important. However, there have been people who have commentators and things, and I see where they're coming from. Sometimes there are extended fasts because you're not going to look any different during it. Have you ever fasted throughout the day? I mean, that's not, you're not going to look like you're fasting. So this could be a season of maybe a 3-day, or like Esther did, or a week or something, where people took some time. It was mainly over brokenness and sin, sackcloth and ashes and fasting. And so this also could mean a season of fasting where you kind of look like you are fasting. And that's why I said, don't go around telling everybody what you're doing and trying to get reward and applause from men. And we have to be careful of that. However, anytime I call a church to a corporate fast, and I talk about it on Facebook or Instagram, I get the people who like to lecture me about this verse. But I want to remind them that there are times, corporate fasts, Joel said, call a sacred assembly, call a fast. You let people know. You let them know we're fasting. Or if it's to help others, hey guys, on day 7, here's what you have to be prepared for. It's all about the heart. Because after all, how do we know that Jesus fasted? He told people. How do we know that any fast existed? They told people. So it's not necessarily about telling. You might be good to tell your spouse or your family, and you let people know it's the condition of the heart. Look at me, how spiritual I am. And that's what their motive was. But if you tell people, and I say, you know what, I can't do dinner this week because I'm fasting. Let's reschedule. Just so they know. I don't really see there's a harm in that. But here's an interesting verse as well in Philippians. He talks about those who walk against God. He said their end is destruction and whose God is their belly. Now, of course, it's for unbelievers, but as believers too, there are times where food, especially, I've told you before, I'm a comfort eater. I gained some weight after the Charlie shooting, turn into the chocolate and the food and just feeling better and that. But if we're not careful, the belly, our God can become consuming and consuming and consuming. And they set their mind on earthly things. So what fasting does is it breaks us away from that. So as Christians, we're eating, we're consuming, we're fellowshipping, but then there has to be a time of kind of breaking away. Anybody else get in that habit of just feeding that too much? And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but just even too much of a good thing is not good. Did you know there's people who die of drinking too much water? They've had contests of where, I remember at radio station, remember they had, it was one of they had a water drinking contest and the lady died. Like just a gallon of water in a short amount of time because you can flood the system. And even a lot of water when fasting, I'm one that consumes it. Maybe I'll open this up for Q&A too. When the body needs it, because it also flushes out a lot of electrolytes, and you're not going to start feeling very well if you're flushing out a lot of electrolytes. So what's the context of this verse? Again, I just explained the context. The application is to make sure we dethrone King's stomach from time to time. Because he gets on the throne, we must dethrone him from time to time. I borrowed that from Jensen Franklin's book many years ago. So fasting can also be denying a stronghold. Anybody have a stronghold in their life that deals with food or drink? Well, how do I know if it's a stronghold? Do you have to have it every day? It's got a pretty strong hold on you. Fasting allows us to break that stronghold out of our life. Caffeine's a big one. And it's a season of just denying. Now be prepared. The flesh will fight you. It will scream. It's just like a 2-year-old kicking and screaming all the way. So be prepared for those moments. It's about fulfilling the God of this, or craving, succumbing to the cravings and giving into the God of this world and our belly and all those things. It has to do with immediate gratification over future fulfillment. So fasting is about future fulfillment and denial now. But the flesh wants fulfillment now and offsets us in the future. We deal with the pain of the regret in the future. So it's either the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. Either one is going to happen. Now, there is an interesting parallel. I don't want to get too much into this, but in Leviticus 3, it talks about burning the fat on the altar, and it was a sacrifice to the Lord. Now, interestingly enough, what happens when we fast? We are burning fat, the stored fuel. It's become really popular lately with the ketogenic diet and ketones and ketone bodies. Our body switches. You've got glucose stored up in your muscle and in your liver, about 2,400 calories, 2,000 calories worth. And once that storage is depleted, about after a day or so, when you start getting angry and hungry, the body switches and it begins to burn mainly your ketones, your fat. It breaks that down I think it's called liponeogenesis, creating the fat from that, burning it down, breaking it down. And that's interesting because we are burning the fat on the altar, technically, as we seek the heart of God. But again, I'm not going to make this some doctrine and get weird about it. It's just interesting that burning the fat to the Lord was a sacrifice, and fasting is also a sacrifice. But here's some key verses on denying the flesh that might help. Matthew 16:24. Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." So this is an interesting part of Christianity, denying the flesh. It's not real popular, is it? If I did a sermon, hey guys, next Sunday it's going to be on denying the flesh, versus, hey guys, next Sunday, 7 ways to financial success. How to become a millionaire in 5 years. We're probably going to see a lot more people. And so it's not popular, and you don't want to be all about denial, and there's no freedom in Christ, and always beating people up and always feeling you can never measure up. We don't want to do that, but Scripture, it's pretty clear on denying the flesh. And if we don't teach on it, then I don't think a lot of people receive the benefits of it, because he said, if you want to be my disciple, you must deny yourself. I mean, it's not what you want, not about your life. You take up the cross and you follow Jesus. What about Romans 8:13? This is a good one too. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. So again, it goes back to that pole inside. In case you haven't noticed, there's like a magnet inside. One pole to the flesh away from God, one pole to the things of God. You've noticed that? Sometimes you're doing great. You're walking in the fullness of the Spirit, and there's peace, and man, I just love my relationship with the Lord. And then other times, the flesh begins to dominate and begins to control. And he said, don't live according to the flesh, but live according to the Spirit. And Galatians 5:16. So I say then, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So that's about the flesh desires certain things. Eat too much, drink too much, sleep too much, even good things. It's just the flesh craves more and more. Laziness is a byproduct of the flesh. And so it says that, do not walk according to those things, but walk according to the Spirit. And just be glad I didn't put all the verses up here, because about 20 of them about denying the flesh. Like, make no provision for the flesh. In other words, don't plan ahead to fulfill the lusts of the flesh. Make no provision for the flesh. Take your thoughts captive, and all these different verses, but these ones are key. How about Galatians 5:24? Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and its desires. Wow. Well, if I've crucified the flesh, why is it still alive in me? Have you ever thought about that? Wait a minute. You would think that it's dead. It's been crucified. It's gone. We're in heaven. No, if we had time, we'd go through, what exactly with the cross and crucified. We're no longer under the death of an unbeliever as far as, eternal damnation and all these things. We've died with Christ. The flesh is crucified. In other words, it's been conquered, but we have to walk in it. We have to make choices that allow us to keep it crucified. Because I don't know about you, but you can raise the dead of the flesh again, begin to feed it and fuel it. And that's where a stronghold forms. It begins to take over your life again. So crucify the flesh. 1 Corinthians 9:27, one we've talked about many times. Paul said what? I discipline my body. Here's a good saying for you. 7 days of no fasting makes 1 week. So the point is, that's a good rule to try to, each week maybe have a day set apart, an afternoon set apart. And if that's too hard, it really shows you how strong that flesh is. Because if I set apart, okay, every Friday I'm not eating, it's going to be tough. It just shows you how strong that the flesh is. So what I want to do now is, as we get into October fast, I'm going to give you a few tips that will really help get you going in the right direction, because that was the whole point of today. Number one, begin to wean off things now. Okay, you've got how many days till October 1st? What's the date today? 17th? So about 13 or so. Let's say 2 weeks to keep it easy. So if you start slowly weaning off things, why is that important? Because the reason 99% of most people quit fasting is because they're detoxing. It's not the food. It's the poisons. Have you ever just stopped eating sugar? I'm just going to stop sugar tomorrow. Watch out. Watch out, Jekyll and Hyde. Moody, hormonal swings, headaches. Don't even just stop. Just try tomorrow. Just stop caffeine. Yeah, I can have my cup of coffee. Give it about till 9, 10 a.m. And you watch. You're going to snap. You know what? No more, begin tomorrow, no more fast food, no more processed food, I'm going to just do plant food, whole plant-based, watch how you feel. Nobody's going to want to be around you around dinner time. So what you're doing is you're weaning off things that are addictive. Now, if God tells a person, hey, I want you to start fasting tomorrow, I've heard a miraculous stories where there's been no withdrawals, and people are like, no, it wasn't as hard as I thought. I'm like, well, good for you. Man, that must be nice. But some people have a very difficult time. So it does help to begin weaning off of those things. I mean, while we're on it, take the caffeine, for example, half the amount of caffeine tomorrow, half the amount the next day, half the amount the next day, half the amount, and you eventually get down to where the withdrawals aren't that bad. You're sleepy, but you're feeling better, and then you can go into the fast. You know, I'm off of sugar, I'm off of processed foods, and you can go into that fast. It's just a lot smoother. Because if not, you're going to be like a heroin addict the first couple of days, withdrawing from all these things. Does that show you how powerful food is? Because of some of the books I have, I think they're back in the 1800s, like Dr. Shelton, Herbert Shelton, many of you probably heard, some of you may have heard of. Can't remember the other names. But when they would go into fast, they weren't coming off of all these chemicals. They were just like, I'm kind of hungry and my body's a little tired, but I feel pretty good. It wasn't until recently, probably 1970s, 80s, chemicals, red dye, food coloring, all the stuff Kennedy's talking about. Those were actually chemicals. And the scientists that a lot of these corporations that they have employed make the food taste a certain way. Why do you need 50 ingredients in a hamburger? Well, because it tastes so good. I can never make a Chick-fil-A sandwich as good at home. Not even close. Or In-N-Out. Because well, let me not get into that. Everybody says, they're Christian companies, leave them alone. Okay, well, you gotta have to start weaning off of the junk so it makes it much more easier. Number 2, make it a daily prayer. Pray each day. Lord, October 1st, I'm going to start this. And as you're praying each day, you're building up faith and you're building up spiritual strength. But also pray, Lord, what do you want me to do? What does this look like? And that's why we throw it out there, October, the month of October, October fast. You can do anything you want for 31 days. If you really want to do it, couldn't you? Let's just say, if on day 31 you made it through the whole day, you got $100,000. I bet you could fast for October. Don't you think? We would do whatever it took. Wouldn't you? Maybe some of you are like, no, I'd still eat. Okay. But see why? Because the motivation is greater than the pain. So if you focus on this deep, meaningful relationship with God that can be literally would be life-changing. Focus on that motivation. Lord, I just want you and all of you. I take that over it doesn't matter. You can't put a price on intimacy with God. So again, it's all about the motivation. We can do hard things. Actually, we were designed to do hard things. How many of you heard the word hormesis? Hormesis means that it's actually putting stressors on the body that actually have a good outcome. That even though it's a stress to the body, exercise, did you know, is a stress to the body? But it's good in the long run. Fasting is a stress to the body, but it's good. Doing hard things really can wake up the body. Begin journaling as well. For many of you, begin writing it down, noting your prayers. What are you praying for? Be specific and watch us, because as God begins to answer those, I'm telling you, that's motivating. You're into your day 6 and your prodigal called you. I can't believe they're asking, I can't, and you go back, oh, I prayed for this, or I prayed for this breakthrough, I prayed for this, and you begin to journal, because see, it's a journey in October. Oktoberfest, it's a journey of ups and downs and highs and lows and valleys. Also, it's getting us ready for Rend the Heavens. Man, when you get a lot of people coming hungry for God, watch out. It's a lot different than normal church, because we're hungry for more of God. You get a room like this filled with people hungry for God, it's incredible what God will do. So begin that journaling. Look at the calendar and be selective. This has taken me out more times than I care to mention. Not preparing for the baby shower, the potluck, the birthday, the eating out, the potluck. And when I get to say, oh yeah, this is more important, I'll just fast next week. And then next week turns into next month. The next month turns into January 1st. I mean, at this point, we're all, well, let's just wait till January 1st. Let me pig out during the holidays. So when you set this up, you look at the calendar and you're selective. Okay, this month, I'm really going to seek, I'm not going to be able to do as much as I used to do, or you plan ahead. And I'm going to talk about the different fasts in just a minute. You plan ahead, you bring maybe your own juice, or you don't commit to things. For me, again, personally, I know we're all different. The morning's not that hard at all. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. I can do stuff. I can stay busy. I can go to breakfast with people or even lunch, and I can just have nothing. But after about 2 or 3, that's when it's hard. Especially if they're at dinner and things. So the morning's always easy. So I have to remember that to maybe meet with people or different things more in the morning time versus the evening time, because it's going to be, and my wife knows, we probably won't have as many plans in October for sure. Just kind of ease a little bit instead, because again, it's praying and fasting. So when you miss the meal, you don't go watch Netflix. You might for a couple days to get through the withdrawals, but it's to take time with the Lord. And then 5, be prepared. What will be the biggest challenges and how will you respond to them? For example, I know right now my biggest challenges, I already told you, are nights. So Wednesday nights are going to be tough because I can't just lay down. Right? We're going to have nights of worship. I'm talking to people. And so how am I going to be prepared? Because anybody like to go home from Wednesdays and eat? Nobody here? You all fast when you get home. That's amazing. Snacks, ice cream. Come on, guys. Let's be honest. Let's try this again. Who eats something when they go home? Joe, you don't? Oh, wow. Good for you. That's actually, guys, I'm proud of you guys. That's pretty good. But for me, right, stressful evening, speaking, go home, make something. And so now I got to just go home and go to bed. Maybe take some melatonin or valerian root or magnesium citrate and help me fall asleep. I'll bring a little bit with me to get me a little tired So my point is being prepared. Do you have a big event coming up where you're going to need a lot of energy? A Grace Fest event, right? It's coming up, but it's in September. Something like that where you've got to, because that's where you fall off track, is when you're not prepared. And even long drives, I won't do. I'll probably have, I'll back because you don't want to really be driving when blood sugar levels are dropping and you can't concentrate as well. So it's so important to just be prepared. What are the biggest challenges you might have? And then number 6, realize this, the real battle is in the mind. That's where it's not the body. It's not how you feel necessarily. It's in the mind. Read the word and pray often. That's how you stay focused. Reading the word and praying often. And don't beat yourself up if you don't feel like it. Sometimes all day I don't feel like it at all because I don't feel good. Because the body is detoxing. What happens too is your fat breaks down for energy and your fat stores, how many of you know this, chemicals, glyphosate from Roundup and chemicals and things that are now being released into the bloodstream. Not to mention ketone bodies are now being used. And so we just don't feel that great. And don't beat yourself up if you need to maybe miss a day, but just pray and then you get back into the word. Also, I think this is important, watching motivational videos, not Carl's Jr. commercials. I mean, it's got me through a lot of times where I put on, let's say, Jensen Franklin on fasting when I feel like giving up. Or Jim Cymbala on fasting, or you watch videos from Buchenheimer, Wilhelmli Clinic in Germany, or even secular ones. Alan Goldhammer, you've heard some of his interviews on fasting. They take people through a 40-day fast at their clinic up in Northern California, True North. And watching those and listening to the success stories and listening to the people, lives that were changed, the cancers that were reversed, the tumors that were shrunk, people maybe juice fasting or juice feasting. And there's lots of different things you can do, but you stay motivated. You don't go drive around the mall and smell El Torito and Outback. And avoid those places. It's common sense, isn't it? And I don't know if we put books out this time, but you can download my fasting books for free at the church website. And just, I need to read this chapter and I just need to get my head straight. And so you're reinforcing it outside of the word and prayer. And when I listen to motivating messages on fasting, it really motivates me to continue to press through or to watch videos about how the body, okay, now this is day 2. That's why I feel this way. Now autophagy is kicked in. Now I'm doing some deep cleaning. And now this, okay. And it really helps to keep you motivated. Number 7, keep it to yourself as much as possible. We already talked about this. Another reason to do this is because how many of you know not everyone's a fan of fasting? Boy, I found this out again back in Lancaster when I started fasting. What, you haven't eaten today? No. Oh my goodness, Pastor, your belly's going to shrink up or something. You're going to die. You got to have, there's so many myths out there. Actually, fasting doesn't kill us, overconsumption does. If we want to be, truthful about it, you're actually designed for seasons of feasting and fasting. We were designed to have seasons where we don't eat for a couple of days. That's why that popular one, alternate day fasting, is to me, it seems biblical as well because, let's say 1,500 years ago, you've got your raisins, you've got your walnuts, and you're out. You might go a couple days before you come across a blackberry bush. We were designed. That's how we were designed. We were designed to eat every 2.5 hours, 3 hours. How many snackers out there? Will, come on. No, you're not a snacker? Why is that? It's like, we won't get too deep in this, but insulin and blood sugar levels and things like that. But every 2 hours, give me some cashews, a couple hours, we actually are, it's not healthy, it's not good. The body needs a Sabbath. So I think this fast will be a very good Sabbath. Also, Luke, can we get a mic ready just real quick? If we do have any questions, I want to answer those real quick. But I want to put up a few slides. Here's some ideas, because this is the number one question I get every October fast. Pastor, what kind of fast should I do? I don't know. That's between you and the Lord. Because if you're on medication, some people need food with medication. You talk to your doctor. There's so many different variables. If you're on high blood pressure medication, fasting will lower your blood pressure. Big time. It drops the numbers. And I mean, I've known people for 180 over 110. After fasting, we're back down to 120 over 80, like after just like a month. It's amazing. But if you're on medication that does that, then you got to be really careful. Or other different types of medication, how we'll interact with no food. Hypoglycemic, diabetic, you have to be strategic about it. If you're already kind of depleted, very, very slender, not a lot of reserves, maybe you actually need to get some nutrients in you. Pregnant, breastfeeding, wouldn't recommend that, water type fast. People ask a lot about juice fasting, and the only problem I have with that is it's a lot of fructose. It's a lot of sugar. I mean, if you look at the amount of, like some of these people that go on juice cleanses, like they're drinking a gallon of juice a day. Gallon of juice, that's like 140 teaspoons of sugar. But they have, good results. They start to lose weight because their calories are low. But also remember, your body breaks down muscle. It's called gluconeogenesis. It breaks down muscle for those amino acids. Again, we're not concerned about that with the spiritual type of fast. But my point is, I wish I could tell you exactly what to do. I will say this, biblically speaking, when possible, it's good just to do water and some electrolytes. Take some magnesium, potassium, sodium. Chris probably won't tell you, but he's like on day 3 of just water. So ask him how he's doing. I know others people went 7 days before. I've talked about before when my daughter, Aubrey, actually did a 40-day water-only fast. And after 2 weeks, I'm like, you're losing weight. What are you doing? She's like, Lord told me to. I'm like, I don't think the Lord told you, I want you to eat this coming Saturday. And she's like, no, but Dad, I really feel strongly about this. I'm like, oh my goodness, people are going to think I'm a bad parent, But I knew what to watch for: energy levels, low potassium, elevated heart rate, heart murmurs, passing out. And she was fine. She's like, she's actually better than. She's going to the gym. She's active. She's energy. Well, she's doing really well on it. And other people have done as well. Other people, 21 days or 7 days or 1 day. Maybe try 12 hours. It's not about, God's like, you know what? You didn't go long enough. I'm sorry. Because a person who goes 40 days will not benefit as much as the humble person going 12 hours and seeking God and pursuing Him, and they're humble. So it's not necessarily about the time, but I do know the more you go, the deeper you get, spiritually speaking too. Not only that, physically, if you want some physical issues to go away, like for example, you guys can see the doctor said that's really nothing. I've got a bump here. It's a fatty tissue. I've got one here too that's not going down. I've got a borderline high blood sugar, all the things I shared before. So I can, even physically, it's a really good idea. So, and people say you shouldn't talk about physical. I think it's okay. It's biblical too, to take care of our body. It's not my goal, but when I do something spiritually, if it helps me physically as well, I think that's a home run. And so that's the number one question. I don't know what to tell you to do. Research a little bit. Some of my friends, Ronnie Floyd, who has spoken here, do you ever follow Landon Schott on out of Mercy Culture in Dallas, a friend of mine, he does juice well. Malachi, who spoke, they have good results. They're close to the Lord on juice. And that might be where He's leading you. For me, I just feel it's too much sugar, unless I do just mainly greens, which taste terrible. But at least I'm having something. So again, I'm really getting this point across. It's between you and the Lord, but it's got to cost you something. I'm just not going to have any chocolate. Okay, well, but you're having the ice cream. Okay, I'm not going to eat breakfast, but you're making it up for dinner. Double the servings. So fasting hurts somewhat. It's between you and the Lord. So here's a few suggestions. I think we've got October fast. So this is the one I talked about before. You can watch their videos online. It's actually a very successful program. They've been doing it over 100 years. It's out of Germany and Spain. And they limit it to just 250 calories of juice. It's about a good size juice. That's all they have, for some bone broth a little bit later. The reason is it's just enough energy to keep you functioning. and they work out a little bit and they rest. And so that's usually what I do, like around when I did that last one at Easter or something. Cause, if I don't want to come up here and speak, I'm tired, then I need a little bit of orange juice. Okay, I got through it. Now I'll go home and go to bed. And so it works pretty good. People on this go long. People went 40 days, 50 days, 3 weeks. And it's a really good program. It's backed by science. Next slide. This one will work as well. Again, this was emailed out. So if you need, again, you can talk to the office. This is a good approach. Abstain from food. Longer. 7 days, try 16 hours. 7 days, do 18 hours. Another 17, do 20 hours without eating. And then for 7 days, try 1 meal a day. And then, so there's things where I think if you have, okay, Lord, here's my commitment, here's what I want to do. Because if you're like me, if you don't have it just like what you're going to do, it doesn't happen. It's like, okay, tomorrow I'm doing this. But then I'll switch it to this. But now I'm going to switch it to 3 meals a day. And now I'll switch it. This at least gives you some type of plan to do. And then at the end, you'll be ready for a 3-day water fast. Because this actually gets your body ready for it. Slowly, it walks you into those deep waters. Or another one that we're emailed out, and we'll email all this out again. 6 days, just eat fruit. And then 6 days, juices. 7 days, just water. And then back to 6 days, fruit. 6 days, raw food, nuts and things like that. It's a commitment to the Lord. That would be more like a Daniel fast. And I think we have another one up there as well. That's the Daniel fast. I call it the Daniel Healthy Eating Program because, but it's not that easy. Have you ever tried cutting out meat, dairy, and sugar and sweets and all the good stuff? Man, it's not easy either. It's denying. But what happens, like, Lord, I really want this, but I'm not going to get it. I'm going to seek you. I'm going to read and then sometimes you'll open up Isaiah and it just comes alive. Or the Psalms, they'll come alive because you're starving the flesh. You're telling it no. So choose what works best for you. Is there another one up here? Will, I think Leona did these slides too, by the way. Good job on these. I don't know if we have one more up there. That's all 4? Okay. So again, if you need these can be emailed out. They can be printed out for you. They're in my books as well that you can download. The key is to have a plan and then hold to that plan. And even if you say, I'm going to do water only, and you switch to juice, it's okay. You stick with that. But we're going to do just a few minutes. You have any questions? Luke can bring you the microphone. And just raise your hand and say if you have a question. We'll try to answer it real quick. Mike, I knew you were going to have a question.
I did 21 days, and you know that.
I remember that, yes.
So my question is, in the beginning of October, I have a physical.
Okay.
At Kaiser. So is my levels, when they do all the blood work and all that, is my doctor going to go, what the heck's going on?
So you're going to do the blood work before the fast? Or after?
No, I'll be in the middle of it.
You'll be in the middle of, okay, so I would.
Of a fast, so it's like I won't be eating anything.
Yeah, if you do, again, that's why it's good to keep your physicians in the loop, because if you fast and you're in the middle of a fast and they take your blood work, it's gonna definitely play a role in triglycerides and cholesterol level, HDL, LDL, even your glucose levels and things like that. So you let your doctor know, hey, I'm in the middle of a fast, or personally, you could postpone it. Maybe we do it at the beginning of the fast and then do it again later or after the fast is over. But yeah, I would let them know because it will definitely, your body, people have been fasting and they'll do that and it kind of messes them up because it's like my cholesterol is high and I'm fasting. How is that possible? Well, did you know your body produces cholesterol? You don't need to eat it. It will produce it. And that's why some vegans have high cholesterol. Well, I'm not eating eggs. Your body makes it because it's actually a very good hormone. Cholesterol is very good for the body. So if not, ask me afterwards. Anybody else? She's got a good question. Is it okay if I fast to 12 or 1? Is there a difference? And again, that's why the big thing is, what does God want you to do? You know what? Because then you stick to that commitment and you're flexible. But here's where it gets hard for me, because if we're talking about spiritual matters and physical, I mean, physically, yeah, it's better to go as long as possible. The deeper you go into autophagy, the better for healing. Spiritually speaking, if you say, okay, Lord, every day at 2:00, I'm going to eat, you've made that commitment, you seek Him in the morning, I think it would be fine. So it's between you and Him, really. But yeah, no, there's no difference other than physically, it's a big difference. The longer you go fasting, like between, if you guys need to leave too, you can get the kids. Just being honest, I would love to just go somewhere and do a 40-day fast. Like the healing that would take place, the amount, but it's just, probably not going to happen. The deep amount of physical healing too that could really happen. Joints, anybody have joint pain? What's that caused by? Arthritis and toxins in the body, and that can really get clean, and you'll feel a lot better. Any other questions on this side?
I have
Back
one.
here.
I have one more.
Will,
question.
go ahead.
Yeah.
But speak loud because it's hard to hear you.
During the fasting, I don't eat meats, but during the fasting, and say, for example, I end up eating something and I ask God for forgiveness right away, can I still continue or that stop there? If I'm fasting, right, I'm fasting and then I forget I was fasting, whatever, or I eat something.
Oh, yeah, I've done that
before.
But then
I remember.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can I continue?
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times, I'll go home and I'll make something. I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be fasting. So you get right back on track. Because again, we can't make this legalistic, like, I blew it. Oh, forgive me, Lord. And it's kind of, it should be, fasting is like a treat to go in deep and seek the heart of God. Talk to Jenny too. She knows, she's done a lot of fasting. There's people you can talk to, or Mike. But no, I would just get back on track. And get right back on track, and it's as if nothing even ever happened.
How do you find a doctor who is on board with that? Because
Good
a lot
luck.
of doctors are, they want to give you the statin drugs. They want to.
Yeah, I know.
They're not into fasting.
It's hard, huh? Remember Dr. Paul, my doctor who spoke out here at the health seminar? I don't know if you guys.
No, I didn't see that.
Met. He'd be good to watch his YouTube videos and stuff, but he's got private practice. He doesn't take new clients. I actually just talked to him this week about it. The medical industry is about 20 years behind where they need to be. They're not quite caught up. They have about 4 hours of nutrition. They don't know that it's wonderful for fixing bones, car accidents, but when it comes to taking care of the body, they would tell me, no, you don't want to do that. And they need to lose 80 pounds. My position, he's like, my cardiologist is really overweight and they don't know a lot about it. So what I have done in the past, whether it was Joshua Medical or other ones I went to, I said, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to fast for 2 weeks and I need you to watch. And then you tell them what you're doing. If you ask them, then they might not, agree with it. But say, I'm going to fast for 2 weeks. I want you to look at my blood work now and then at the end. And then actually a lot of times it comes back much better and they're convinced of it. But yeah, you can call around too and find doctors that are on board. There's more and more. Dr. Jason Fung, you can watch his YouTube videos. Dr. Peter Attia, you can watch his YouTube videos. Dr. Paul Saudino, you can watch his YouTube videos. Thomas DeLauer on YouTube, you can watch his videos. I mean, there's Huberman. You ever watch him? Dr. Huberman. I mean, there's lots of doctors online you can watch their videos and get the information. And some of these fasting clinics do online help. So they'll monitor you each day online with the Zoom. I'm not sure of the cost, but that's what I would do. She has one up here too. Yeah, what she's talking about is binders like charcoal, activated charcoal and things like that. So there are things out there where you can take. They believe, and I believe in activated charcoal. It's helped my stomach so many different times. That'll bind to toxins and help you release them. I leave that up to the individual. I personally don't do that. And I know during a juice fast, some people will take those binders, and I can't remember what it's called, where it really helps to eliminate a lot of the buildup. And that's a whole other thing, mucoid plaque. I've talked to people who've looked in intestines and they don't see it, but then other people feel like they've really released a lot of it. And so, but no, personally, I don't take any of those things. I look at how God created us. And the body is wonderful at cleansing itself. But I'm not against it either. I think there's some good things to that as well. Will asked, what do I think about a social media fast? I think it's actually a great idea. I would definitely do it. And if that's what God wants you to do, I would probably also try to incorporate some type of appetite fast with that. Maybe like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to eat whole food, your God-given food, nothing that's, and it's hard because you're out in the field, you want to stop and get a Snickers bar, or you want to get fast food or something. But yeah, I think if you, for the month of October, actually, that might be a good idea. Let's really limit social media, the news, and just instead read the Word and pray. I think that's a great idea. What she's talking about is there's something called, how many of you have heard of refeeding syndrome? Refeeding syndrome. It's actually pretty dangerous. I've had friends end up in the hospital or go to the emergency room or things like that because you go so long and then you just pig out. And now you've got all this magnesium, potassium, sodium. Electrolytes, remember, are electrical pulse signals for the heart and the body. And hormonal balance, keeping the cortisol and hormones balanced and estrogen, testosterone. So when you just flood the body with all of this, it actually takes more discipline after the fast than it does during the fast. They say, let's say you did a 21 water day fast, you would need probably a good 5 to 7 days of reacclimating the body. That's hard because you're ready to go to town. And so you have to have some watermelon. Okay, I'm good for an hour. A couple hours later, let me have some more watermelon. Okay. Oh my God. I just could eat a bowl of cashews right now. And so you have to regulate. So the longer you go, the more careful you have to be with refeeding. I've done 5 days water, and I just ate the 6th day, and it was not a good idea because my body, I was in bed, I didn't feel good. And so you do refeeding. When you start to eat again, Chris, that's good for you to know too. When you start easy on that chicken on Friday, just a little bit at a time, let the body get accustomed to getting actually building up the microbiome and all those important things. So yeah, refeeding. Don't pig out. I try to give myself, if I'm fasting for a week or two, I'm also planning on the 3 to 4 days after it. I'm not going to go to a birthday party or potluck on the day I break it. So you have to be prepared. Also keep in mind, we're going to switch for just a minute on the physical aspects of this. You've heard the diet effect, or the dieting, yo-yo effect of dieting. People gain all the weight back in fasting. If you go back to the same lifestyle that puts you in the position, you will gain the weight back. And sometimes even quicker, because the longer you go, you probably will burn some of the muscle as energy. Not a lot, just a little bit. It breaks down gluconeogenesis, right? The muscle breaks down in order to fuel, especially if you're working out and you're very busy, your body's going to burn down a little muscle. So now you go back to eating like you used to. Your metabolic rate takes a little bit of time, a couple weeks to build it back up. But now you can't burn as many calories as you once did because you don't have the muscle mass density like you once had. And so now your body's going to put it on again. Your body always wants to go back to where it was. And so for me, fasting can also be a lifestyle reset. Okay, I'm going to get down. Let's say you lose 25 pounds. You'll probably you're going to gain 10 pounds of that back. You got gut bacteria, you've got the fiber, you got the water. A gallon of water weighs 7 pounds. You're going to get that water. So I wouldn't worry about the first 10 pounds. You want to do that. But then slowly you want to build it, back up. And again, it depends what your relationship, what type of fast it is. So the whey, protein shakes and creatine, things like that, whey would actually prevent the muscle from being broken down, because you're taking in those amino acids. And creatine is what they consider cell volumizer. It adds fluid to the cells, and a lot of other things creatine does, along with L-glutamine and things like that. So it depends how technical you want to get. Like for me, if it's a spiritual fast, I kind of don't worry about those things. I just jump into it. You do have other questions. Again, the book's online. We'll answer. Can I exercise? What types of food? Can I have coffee? What kind of juice? I mean, I really answer a lot of those. Electrolytes really help because that's why you feel sick a lot of times. When you get low sodium, I mean, think about it. You're eating, you're getting all this sodium, magnesium. And when you start to take those, you actually feel better. And if you're drinking enough water and things like that, you feel better. So, Lord, I pray for this month of October coming up. I pray you would get our hearts ready now. Lord, I pray that we would fall forward. We would, even if we don't do this perfectly, even if we mess up, God, we're going to continue to seek you. We're going to come into the month of October. Every Wednesday is going to be a worship night leading leading to rend the heavens. So let us come in on Wednesdays hungry for more of you, Lord. Even if it's a smaller number of people, God, get us here. Get us hungry for more of you. And I pray you would bless their fasts. Lord, show them. I pray even tonight, show them what you want them to do. 31 days. What do we do during those 31 days? Maybe somebody can only do 7 days or 5 or whatever it is. Lord, you show them, you give them peace about that decision and direct us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.